Hello everyone. On 17th of this month, National Logistics Policy was launched by our Honorable Prime Minister, and this policy is considered to be a game changer as far as logistics and infrastructure industry is concerned. Therefore, this topic becomes very important from UPSC exam perspective. So I thought to make an explanatory video where I'll try to explain each and every aspects related to this policy. So let's proceed. So this is the first thing which you can see in this table, why in news. So already we have discussed. Now the second important point is syllabus topic. So this is for all the aspirants. Whenever you read any current affairs topic which you find important from exam perspective, the first thing that you should do is to relate that current affairs topic with the syllabus mentioned in the UPSC. So particularly this national logistic policy will fall under GS3 uh, under infrastructure topic. Okay, and this topic is important from both prelims and mains exam perspective, as I told you just a few moments ago. Okay, now before we start our detailed discussion on national logistics policy, let's have a fundamental understanding about this logistics industry. Okay, so you can have a better idea while we discuss the national logistics policy. Okay, so the first thing that we need to understand this: what is logistics? What do we understand by this term? What is logistics? So you can see here the overall process of managing how resources acquired, stored, and transported to a final destination. So this is basically management of transportation, delivery, and storage. You can say transportation, delivery, and storage. Okay, TDS. Let us see this. Let us suppose this is point A and this is point B. Now, and you can say this is source point, and this is final destination, or the point of customer. You can say. Now, if the material or inventory is to be transported from point A to point B, so what all, I mean, infrastructure is needed? Transportation. So material is to be transported. Okay, then storage, material might be stored in between. Okay, at certain places. Then other things like packaging, loading, unloading, etc. So these all process which are related to delivery, transportation, and storage will come under this logistics. So this was about the basic of this term, logistics. Now in India, logistics is basically developed. Infrastructure, logistics infrastructure is developed and managed by various industries and departments. So every ministry, they develop their own infrastructure related to their own logistics. For example, Ministry of Road Transport and Highway, they'll develop their own logistics. Then Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Ministry of Port, Shipping, and Waterways. So, and besides this, other ministries also, they develop their own logistics. So multiple ministries are involved. Okay, this is a very important point. We'll discuss it later, why this is important. So, and in fact, under these ministries there are multiple departments which they also develop separately their own logistics infrastructure. Okay, and then this logistics needs to be supported by huge network of logistic infrastructure, like for example, road and rail connectivity is required. Okay, then cold storage, cold storage, warehouse, then ports. Okay, inland container depots, then air terminal, etc. So this needs a support of huge network of logistic infrastructure. So this was basic about the logistics. So now let's move to the next important aspect: significance or potential of Indian logistics sector. So the first point is this: logistic industry contributes 14.4% of GDP, which is a very good number. And as far as logistic market is concerned, this market is currently at $160 billion and expected to rise to 380 billion by FY 2025, financial year 2025. So this is very good from business perspective. And on an average, this industry is growing at a 10 to 12% growth rate, which is good for any industry. And this is very important employment generation. So there is a huge unemployment in India. So this industry accommodates 22 million people, and which is expected to grow at 5%. Okay. And logistic is basically backbone of our primary or secondary sector, you can say manufacturing, trading, agriculture, and MSMEs. And at the same time, it supports hugely to the international trade, or in fact, you can say international trade or export is very much dependent on the logistics sector, transportation. Okay, so this was basic about the significance or potential of logistics sector. Now moving on to the next important aspect, challenges faced by Indian logistics sector. Okay, so because see, this is the reason that the government felt the need to come up with the national logistic policy, that this industry is mired with the huge certain number of challenges. Okay, so the first thing is high logistic cost, 14% of GDP. If you compare this cost with other matured economies or developed economies, let's say USA, Japan, or in fact China, so they incur around 8% of their GDP on the logistics. And if you compare this with BRICS, emerging economies, so average cost is around 11% of GDP. Even if we compare with the BRICS, okay, the Association of Emerging Economies, then also India is incurring a huge cost on the logistics. Okay, so this is a very big challenge, high logistic cost. Okay, now if you try to understand the reason why we are incurring high logistic cost. Okay, so just have a look at this top table. So here you can see, one second. Yes, cost of transport. You can see, if we are transporting our material through roadways, then we have to incur 2.5 rupees per ton per kilometer. But if we do the same through railways, we have to incur rupee 1.36, and if the same is done through railways, then rupees 1.06. Okay, so the cost is minimal through waterways. But when we see the share of various modes, then waterways, we are still uh, as far as the composition of various modes or ratios of various modes are concerned, we transport a significantly less quantity of material through waterways. You can see here 60 to 65% material is transported through roadways, 30 to 35% through railways, and only 8% through waterways. Okay, we are not discussing here airways because very significantly this is insignificant. Only 1% is transported, and the cost is high. So this is not in our discussion consideration. So this is basically, if you analyze these 2 points, like share of various modes of transportation here and then cost, then you will find this as a suboptimal mix or inefficient model mix. What should have been the case? The maximum amount of inventory should have been transported through waterways and then to railways and roadways. Okay, but the case in India is entirely different. Okay, so because of this inefficient model mix, it affects manufacturing sector. Why? Because see, transportation cost becomes the part of the input, okay, part of the cost of the product. So it affects the manufacturing sector and export competitiveness. This is I have just taken as an example, like if you're exporting coal from India, let's say from Jharkhand to any other country, then in the entire process, I mean taking picking coal from the state of Jharkhand and then bringing it to the port and then exporting into the other country, the entire cost is very huge, and that is the reason we lose the export competitiveness as far as other countries like China is concerned. Okay, Then if you compare the same shares in other countries, like for example China, only 30% is transported through roadways and 46% through waterways. And in UK, only 10% through roadways, and then 43% is through waterways. So this is the reason that they incur a lesser amount on their logistic cost. So I hope this is clear. And when we discuss in detail the logistic policy, so the government has actually tried to fix this issue, high logistic cost. So we need to optimize this model mix. Now the next challenge is low performance in global ranking. Global ranking means, see, the World Bank releases in every 2 years. In every 2 years, World Bank releases one report or index, logistics performance index. Okay, so it consider various parameters, like for example seamlessness in transporting material, then other custom infrastructure, regulatory framework, etc., timeliness, and all on all the parameters this report is prepared. And on this report in 2018, because 2018 is the last year when World Bank has released this report, India is at 44th position. Okay, if you compare this with China, China is on 26th, Germany is at first position, and Japan and USA is on 5th and 14th respectively. You don't have to remember all the data, but at least you should know China's position. And in fact, if you compare it with Vietnam, I think Vietnam is placed at 39th position. Okay, so which is also relatively better position as far as India is concerned. So this is another challenge. Then the next challenge is standalone digital system. What we discussed, that in India, logistics sectors, logistic infrastructure is managed by various ministries separately. So all the ministry, they manage their digital system separately. We do not have any integrated digital system. Okay, and because of which, so information flow is limited. Information flow is limited, and which makes the approval process cumbersome or delayed. So this is another challenge. Then issues related to logistic infrastructure. See, this is also related to the same point. Like various ministries and departments are involved. So there is, you can say, disjointed planning, or better you can say it, working in silos. Okay, so there is no integrated planning and execution. So all the ministries and department, they work this they work in silos. They separately develop, manage their logistic infrastructure, and because of which, so it will lead to what? Lack of coordination, and eventually you can say approval or clearances process will get delayed. Clearances process will get delayed. Okay, so this is another problem. Then lack of skilled manpower. This industry does not have any formally trained manpower. So there is a skill gap. What is needed in this industry, and what we produce. Okay, then the another important is this industry is largely informal. One second, just give me a moment. Yes. Yes, this industry is largely informal, unorganized, because MSMEs are involved and other small industries are involved. So this is largely informal and unorganized. So because of which the entire process is highly fragmented. Highly fragmented. There is no uniformity of access to technology. Okay, so access to technology is not uniform. Is not uniform. Then digitalization is also one of the problem in MSME sector. Okay, so these are the broad challenges that this particular industry is facing. See, why we need to understand these challenges, because when we read the national logistic policy, government has attempted to address all the challenges. Okay, so once you understand the challenges, potential, and all basic fundamental aspects of the logistic industry, the national logistic policy will become very easy for you to understand. Okay, now let's move to this major infrastructure scheme currently going on. So government has launched national logistic policy, but what before this? Okay, so under various ministries, these are the various infrastructure project or major programs related to infrastructure which is currently going on. For example, Bharat Mala, this is an umbrella program, under Ministry of Road, Transport and Highways. Sagar Mala is under Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways. So Sagar Mala is basically related to what? Port-led development. So this is not our discussion point. I just wanted to make you aware with the major infrastructure scheme before government introduced this national logistics policy. And you must have heard this multimodal logistic parks. So this comes under this Ministry of Road Transport and Highway. Then national waterways are being developed. As far as Ministry of Civil Aviation is concerned, then Uran, air cargo ports, cold storage facilities are at airports are being developed. National Industrial Corridor program is going on. For example, Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor is being developed. Then dedicated freight corridor by Ministry of Railway. You must have heard this, Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor and Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. So see, these all are basically currently undertaken under various ministries and departments. Okay. Now, PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, this is very important. So this is a very significant, you can say, policy or plan taken as far as infrastructure is concerned. So all these all these major infrastructure are incorporated or program are incorporated under the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. See, I just want to tell you here, like under PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, these all programs are not subsumed. Rather, PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan will give a platform for integrated planning and development. Okay, so as we discussed, these all major infrastructure program are being developed under different ministries, under different departments. So there is not, they lack coordination for planning and execution. So that is the reason the last year we'll discuss this in the coming slide, that the government launched this PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, and the purpose of which is integrated planning and development. So as I told you, let's have a very brief. This is not our topic, but if you understand this PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. So National Logistic Plan policy is basically extension of PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, one step ahead of this. So you must understand this. So we'll not get into the detail, but at least you must have a basic idea of PM Gati Shakti Master Plan. So as I told you, PM Gati Shakti was introduced last year on 13th of October, and it was introduced to break silos and to integrate all the existing planned initiative of ministry department for better synergy with respect to infrastructure development. Okay, to create next generation infrastructure. So next generation infrastructure is needed for other industries to sustain or survive or prosper. So this will provide with an aim to enhance ease of living, ease of doing business, minimum disruptions. Okay, and then PM Gati Shakti is to provide multimodal connectivity infrastructure to various economic zones. Various economic zones means, like for example, economic zones are developed. For example, textile clusters or semiconductor clusters. Then other economic cluster like industrial corridor. So it PM Gati Shakti provides multimodal connectivity to these economic zones. Then this is very important. It provides comprehensive database of ongoing and future projects of various ministries. See, there will be one comprehensive platform where you can find all the details of all infrastructure projects which are currently going as well as planned. Then suppose, for example, if I am in the Ministry of Road, Transport and Highways, and I need information that I need to build a road, let's say in this route, and I need to know whether a railway has any plan to develop any overbridge or any other infrastructure uh, related to their uh, in their ministry, then I can easily find on this. So this was planned in PM Gati Shakti. So it will provide a comprehensive database, and that will facilitate planning, designing, and execution of infrastructure project with a common vision. So there will not be any working and silos approach. Rather, there will be an integrated approach. So this was about PM Gati Shakti. So just a brief knowledge you were needed to understand national logistics policy. Now, apart from what we discussed here, the major infrastructure scheme, then other technological adoptions in the logistics sector in the recent times. What has been done? You can see here e-Sanchit, so enabling paperless export import trade process. So you can see the government is continuously trying to make logistics sector efficient, and for that purpose in the decades, in the last decades, various steps have been taken. Major infrastructure project, as we discussed, like Bharat Mala, Sagar Mala, etc. And then these technological adoptions has also been undertaken, like e-Sanchit, then faceless assessment in customs. Then this was a very huge step, introduction of GST. So it will definitely have uniform tax rate, simpler process, easy interstate movement of goods. Then fast tag in highways. So these all technological adoptions leads to what? Logistic efficiency. Okay, logistic efficiency. See, because of the challenges, uh, what we discussed, we I mean we have a poor logistics, okay, and logistics infrastructure, and government is continuously trying through various program and technological adoptions to make it efficient. Okay, now this has certainly made our logistics efficient, but not up to the level which is required to reduce the cost or to improve our international ranking. Now, before we come on to this national logistic policy, uh, if you understand this term logistic efficiency in a more detailed manner, see, basically logistic efficiency is what? This is basically a function of, you can say, infrastructure, services, that is digital system, regulatory framework, process, etc., and then human resource. So if you have to bring efficiency in the logistics sector, then we have to improve our infrastructure, we have to bring efficiency in services, we have to make our human resource efficient. Now, if you just analyze what we discussed ever is related to infrastructure, like PM Gati Shakti and other major initiatives. So infrastructure is being taken care by PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. Now, to make our services and human resource efficient, National Logistic Policy is brought in. Okay, so this is what the objective of National Logistic Policy is, to make logistic sector more efficient. And how this sector, how to do that. So as far as infrastructure is concerned, so PM Gati Shakti is already going on, and that will take care of the infrastructure, integration of infrastructure, and to make services, digital system, regulatory framework, processes, and human resources efficient, government has come up with the national logistic policy. So as I told you, national logistic policy, can you say that this is an extension, or you can better say it complements PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. Okay. Now, I hope everything is clear till now. So, what we have discussed till now, basic term, what logistic mean, then what is the potential of this sector, what this sector, what challenges this sector is facing, then what are the steps that government has taken as far as the major infrastructural development is concerned, and other smaller technological adoptions already been taken in this sector. And now, to further improve the logistic efficiency, the government has come up with the National Logistic Policy. I'm sorry. Yes. So, if you can recall all the points that we have discussed, it becomes very easier for you to understand this National Logistic Policy. See, National Logistic Policy lays down an overarching interdisciplinary cross-sectoral. Okay, definitely interdisciplinary because various discipline, various ministries and departments are concerned. Cross-sectoral, various sector. Like for example, there are under various ministries there are various sectors. Like for example, textile sector, industrial. Under Ministry of Commerce there are other sectors. So cross-sectoral, multi-jurisdictional because infrastructure development is not only concerned with the central government, rather other state governments are concerned. Then definitely it is a comprehensive policy framework for the logistics sector. So it lays down an overarching interdisciplinary, cross-sectoral, multi-jurisdictional and comprehensive framework for the logistics sector. And as far as the vision of this policy is concerned, then the vision is to develop technologically enabled, integrated, cost efficient, resilient, sustainable and trusted logistics ecosystem for accelerated and inclusive growth. Why they have mentioned this term inclusive growth? Because MSMEs, agriculture, employment generation, all these are being taken care under this policy. So inclusive growth. Okay. So this is the vision and overall the framework of this national logistic policy. Now, we have already discussed the challenges. Okay. So if you can recall those challenges, it was, if we can discuss the broader aspect, it was high logistic cost, then low performance in the international ranking. So don't you think that when government will come up with the logistic policy, they will definitely try to overcome those challenges? So that's what they have done, and they have set major targets under the national logistic policy. Like the first target is to reduce cost of logistics in India to be comparable to the global benchmark by 2030. So this is a broad term global benchmark. So the what PM has said that we have to bring it down to the single digit. While launching the program, he has mentioned this. We have to bring it down to the single digit as soon as possible. Okay, so you can say like what the comparable global benchmark is currently 7 to 8%. So our target is to bring it down to the 7 to 8% by 2030. Then logistic performance index ranking. So currently where we stand at 44th position, and this government has made a target to bring it down to under 25 by 2030. Okay, and then for support system, for process enhancement, create data driven decision support mechanism for efficient logistic ecosystem. Ecosystem is used for the entire process of point A to, you can say, point Z. So this is the broad target. This is the broad target, I mean the target set under the national logistic policy. Now these are the targets, but how government has tried, whenever you set any target you must make an actionable plan. So how do you achieve that target? Similarly, government has also made actionable plan, and you can see here how the policy will be implemented. So it will be implemented through comprehensive logistic action plan, clap. So under this comprehensive logistics action plan, 8 key areas have been focused. So what are those 8 key areas? The first is integrated digital logistics system. See, I told you if you understand the logistics sector, then it will be very easy for you to understand this whole national logistic policy. Now, if you can read this first point, integrated digital logistics system. If you can recall the challenges, what we discussed, a standalone digital system. So each ministry and departments have their own. They are actually digitalized, but they have their separate digital system. So because of which there is a lack of coordination or delayed approval or clearances process. So what government will try to do? Definitely, government will try to integrate all the digital logistics system, and under this they are trying to develop. I mean, they are developing unified logistic interface platform ULIP. So this will be a single portal. This will be a single portal where all transport related digital system will be integrated. Single portal. I I'll mention this single portal to uh, integrate all transport related digital system. Okay, and at the same time, because of this integrated system, so all the stakeholders will find it easier to find any data. For example, they can easily track their consignment, they can get their licenses faster. So all the process will become easier because of this integrated digital logistics system. So this is first actionable plan under comprehensive logistic action plan. Then second point is a standardization of physical assets and benchmarking service quality standard. One second. Yes. So this is basically related to you can say a standardization of warehouse. See, Indian warehouse is not at par with the international warehousing standard. So government is trying to improve the service quality standard, or physical assets like warehouse as at par with the international standard, to reduce the to minimize the wastage during warehousing or storage. The third point is logistic human resource development and capacity building. Again, I would like to tell you, you just recall the challenges that we discussed, lack of human resource that we discussed. So again, government has tried to overcome this challenge through integrated government online training platform on Gati, Shakti and logistics. So government will introduce courses on this logistics and Gati Shakti, and that will be available for students, civil servant and other government officials. So the problem of the formal training will get sorted through integrated government online training IGOT platform. Then state engagement. So see, infrastructure development, definitely state is also concerned because they also need to develop a major or a larger infrastructure. So under this policy, it will be ensure that state all the state government or city, in fact city administration, gets support to develop infrastructure related to logistics. Then exim logistic to make the trade facilitation easier. Okay, all the custom process faster and efficient. So this will be made sure through this national logistics policy. Then this is very important, service improvement framework. So this is basically related to making the process easier, making the process easier and efficient. Okay, so under this, this will be operationalized through two parts. This is second, actually this is second, and the first is service improvement group. Service improvement group. Okay, so there is one group, national networking group in PM Gati Shakti, on the similar line. Under this national logistic plan, service improvement group is formed, wherein officers from the various ministries will be there, and they will ensure that all the regulatory processes, framework, okay, so these are being taken care, and they coordinate to make the system more efficient. Okay, so this is one service improvement group will be formed under service improvement framework. And the second is creation of digital dashboard, which is known as e-logs, ease of logistics service. So this will be a dashboard which I mean, where the association uh, can come and register their complaints regarding the performance of this logistics policy, or any policy under this logistics policy, any program under this policy. Okay, so e-logs will be for the users, or you can say association industry members. Then sectoral plan for efficient logistics. So each sector, government will ensure that each sector, okay, while developing their logistics, they work in line with PM Gati Shakti and align, with the broader vision, so that duplication of efforts can be minimized. Then the final, as you can see, there are 8 key areas. So this is the final key actionable plan: facilitation of development of logistic park. So you can say such as, so already various uh, logistic parks are being developed. So government again has given thrust on this facilitation of development of logistic parks, such as multimodal logistic park, then ports, then inland container depots, etc. So through these 8 key areas, government has tried to implement the national logistics policy. I hope this is clear. Okay. Now moving on to this, national logistics policy will ensure. So now we have understood the government has set a target, and at the same time government has also made a policy that how these targets should be, will be achieved. So how this policy will be implemented. Now once the policy is implemented, then what we are going to get in the near future. So what this policy will ensure: definitely promotion of seamless movement of goods across the country, then improvement in the competitiveness of Indian goods in the domestic as well as global market, and thus it will boost export. So because of poor logistic infrastructure, we are losing the competitiveness. Okay, so our product actually get costlier in the foreign market if we compare it with the other economies. So because if we make our logistic infrastructure efficient, then the overall the cost of the product will become less, and that will improve the competitiveness. Then if our trade, I mean higher share, then definitely because of this we can integrate in the global value chain, and our share in the global trade business will definitely rise. It will ensure quick last mile delivery. It will ensure to end transport related challenges as we discussed, and definitely because of multi-mode transport system efficient process, it will save time, and at the same time it will also save the money of manufacturer. How? Because if we make standard warehouse packaging, loading, unloading, the entire process is, government is focusing to make it good, then definitely the overall wastages in the entire supply chain will reduce, and the requirement of huge inventory storage will also get reduced. So that will definitely uh, save the money of manufacturers, and it will definitely make India a more attractive destination for global investors. So these are basically desirable outcome, you can say, uh, of this national logistics policy. I hope this is clear. Now I have just mentioned this paragraph. I thought this will be, a good paragraph to mention if any question comes on this. As a conclusion, you can mention this: reduce logistic cost and increase logistic efficiency will take India to a step closer to emerging as a global manufacturing powerhouse. Connectivity and robust infrastructure are very crucial to make India a 5 trillion economy. So you can mention this in your conclusion, or important, terms can be used at suitable places. Now, before we wrap up this session, obviously this topic is important. So, prelims and mains question both can be expected from this policy. So, we can discuss this very briefly. Like first question is for prelims. Consider the following statements about national logistic policy. So, the first statement is National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation's logistics data bank project is being used to develop unified logistic interface platform under NLP. And second is Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has formulated this policy. Now you have to answer this. Okay, think for a moment and then please answer this. Okay, so the first statement is correct. First statement is correct. Okay, so there is this national industrial corridor development. So they have corporation, they have joint venture with one tech company of Japan, and they are actually developing logistics data bank project. So the same will be used to develop unified logistics interface under national logistic plan. Okay, then this statement is incorrect. This is incorrect because this policy has been formulated by Ministry of Commerce. Okay, so the answer will be what? Choose the correct option. Sorry, choose the correct option from the code given below. So answer will be one only. Now the main question: highlighting the challenges faced by Indian logistics sector, discuss the role of national logistic policy in improving overall logistic ecosystem. So you can start with, see here, what should be the broad framework. In introduction, you can mention the potential, what we discussed initially, potential of logistics sector, how it is contributing to the GDP, what is the market potential or employability potential. You can mention the potential of logistics in the introduction. Then in the main body, we have two demand. First demand is challenges, and then discuss the role. This is second. So challenges and role of sorry NLP. So, yes. Now, challenges here you need to understand they have just mentioned highlighting the challenges. So, the main, if you ask me, like where exactly we need to devote or allot more content out of these two subparts, I would say subpart 2, because subpart 1 has just given the context for subpart 2, highlighting the challenges faced by Indian logistics sector. So, you just mention the challenges, do not produce any detail. Like you can simply mention high logistic cost, and here you can mention 14% of the GDP. Then lack of formal training, then other challenges that what we have discussed. Then you have to mention the role of NLP. So how NLP has tried to improve the overall logistics ecosystem. So here 2 3 points becomes very important. You must mention about this ULIP, Unified Logistic Interface Platform. Then you must mention this e-logs, and then I got. Okay, so you must mention these points. Okay, and then finally conclusion. Already told you what is the importance of logistics sector. You can highlight to make India a 5 trillion economy. So those can be highlighted. Here you need to focus on this. This question is of 15 marks, 250 points. So I have simply explain the introduction, body and conclusion. I hope if you have gone through this discussion carefully, attended this discussion carefully, then you must be able to produce a very good answer for this question. Now I want you to remember at least 1 to PM statements which he made while launching this policy, because you can use these statements in your answer writing at suitable places wherever the question demands. Either it can be in the introduction or it can be in the conclusion, or wherever. If it demands to be placed in the main body, you can do that as well. And in fact, if any essays come on this topic, infrastructure or logistic, then you can definitely mention this PM statement. So these are, he has made several statements, so I have taken three important ones. So national logistic policy has immense potential for development of infrastructure, expansion of business and increasing employment opportunity. Okay, so other two statements you can go through, and I would suggest you to at least make note of it and try to remember this. So this was it about national logistics policy. I hope I have tried to explain each and every aspects related to this policy. So if you have any queries or suggestions, those are welcome. You can put up your queries in the comment box also, or else you can reach us at these details provided. You can email us at this ID, dashovidya.upsc@gmail.com, or you can directly call us or WhatsApp us at this number. or you can reach us at a telegram on this id at mentor underscore dashovidya. So thank you very much.